Hello and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be making yet another dress. I have today only to make the dress that I want to make, as I'm going to be pretty busy over the next 4 weeks. This is the pattern that I'm going to be using. Technically it is a costume dress, however I'm going to do some slight tweaking and make it instead a spring or summer dress. Now I live in South Carolina and our spring, we don't really have spring, it's just summer. And our winter is more like fall. So we're transitioning out of the fall-winter weather and headed straight for summer. And I spent the winter making, well, winter clothes. So that is 80% of my clothing. And I need something that is not going to make me melt in the 90-degree spring weather. So without further ado, let's get started. The very first thing that I'm going to be doing is laying my fabric out on my table, laying all the pattern pieces out, and cutting them out. I will be using two different fabrics. I have a twin-size bed sheet and a queen-sized bed sheet. For the outer layer of fabric, I will be using this white and black floral printed fabric. In total, I have about 6 yards of it. For the second layer of fabric, what I will be using is this queen-size black bed sheet. This is not technically the lining layer, more as it's the underskirt layer. The underskirt will be a contrasting color, going for black. Now that all the pattern pieces are cut out, it is time to assemble them. First, I assemble the outer skirt, pinning the sides together. Then I assembled the underskirt, pinning those sides together. Off camera, I assembled all of the ends of my ruffle pieces, and then I also did a double fold hem on the end so I won't have to try to fiddle with that after I connect all of the ruffles to the bottom of the skirts. The bodice, both the right and left front sides and the back have darts, so I need to put my darts in place. Now for the front piece. This requires multiple pleats in order to fold down to the size that it's going to actually be. For this, I have an outer layer which has all the pleats, and then the inner layer which is no pleats, it's just the flat piece of fabric at the size that it needs to be. To ensure that the size is correct, I am going to be laying the outer layer right sides together over the inner layer. And I'm going to pin this in place just to keep it in place. Now off to the sewing machine, I'm going to start with putting all of my darts in. Once the darts are put in, I'm going to attach the front panel. Now per the pattern, there is a lot of trim for this dress. I am not going to be adding any of the trim though, because I'm trying to veer away from it looking like a costume piece and have it be a more functional, everyday dress. Moving on to the skirts, I'm going to go ahead and sew the sides together, right side together, using a straight stitch. Now that the skirt pieces are together, I'm going to move on to adding the pleated ruffles. This is what is probably going to take the longest. I want to add all of my ruffles to my skirts before I attempt to sew them together, because as the pieces are laying flat, it is much easier for me to add the pleats to ensure that it's going to and if it turns out that I do mess up, because that does happen quite frequently in fact, I can take everything out and then start over. For me, I just find this easier. The pattern says to do it after the skirt is assembled, where it will be round, and it's just more difficult for me, so I'm going to do it my way. Now I do believe that this dress has a side zipper. I do not think that I will be doing the side zipper. However, I've not gotten that far yet. So let's go figure out what it is I'm going to do with the side. Either a zipper, to which I loathe, or buttons, to which I prefer. Well, the dress is now done, and if I were to rate it out of 10, I would rate it a solid 6.5. It is not the worst thing that I've made, that is for sure. I think that I really just don't much care for it on account of the waistline. So it's got like this empire waistline because it is a baby doll dress. They're very loose, you know, it's loose on my stomach, so nothing squeezed to death like a corset that I usually wear. I mean, I very well could put a corset on it. As we saw in the reveal, I put my little waist belt on, and I mean, it was okay, and it was okay. As far as the sleeves go, I don't know if you would call them sleeves. They're more ruffles on the arm. They're all right. I mean, they do their ruffly thing that they're supposed to do. I think perhaps with this dress shape, though, butterfly sleeves would have done much better. Or rather would have looked better than the ruffled sleeve. But it's fine. School is now over. It is summer break. Really need the break. Yes, I realize for the kids school is a lot, but as a homeschool teacher, it's a lot for me as well. Probably more so. Because, you know, I have to come up with lesson plans for 3 grades, 3 kids, and they're all doing something different. Similar things, grade appropriate work. Need the break. Well, that is all that I have for today's video. I do realize that this video is probably going to turn out to be pretty short. But I guess we don't always need really long videos, you know. We'll save the really long ones for the really detailed and intricate makes that I will be making this summer. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment down below. The likes, comments, shares, they push my videos out further and get new eyeballs on my videos, which is the entire point of this whole YouTube endeavor. If you're not already, consider subscribing. I post every Wednesday, and I do my best to create interesting enough content. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.